guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a foundation slash pigment review. I'm sure you guys can read from the title what the product is. I'm going to be chatting a little bit about the new Clinique BIY or blend it yourself pigment drops. So Clinique just released these I think a couple of weeks ago. I saw them tweet about it and I immediately knew I wanted to try these out because they have been on a roll throughout the past year with developing really great foundations. I love the Beyond Perfecting. I love their Super Balanced Silk as well, and I was just really excited when I saw these unique little pigment drops that they've released. So if you're not sure what a pigment drop is, the first brand that I really saw to be successful with this formula was the Cover FX Custom Enhancer Drops. They released I think a couple of years ago and I did have those for a while. They were super pigmented drops, and basically pigment drops are meant to be mixed with another medium, so another base like a moisturizer or a primer, and you kind of just customize your coverage. So Clinique has released these little guys here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience using this. So all of the basic details on how many shades there are and where you can find this product is going to be listed in the info box. I know you guys know how to use the internet, you can utilize it well, so I'm not going to take up the time with that, but I do want to talk about a few small details like the size of this product. So if you can see how small this product is right now, I'll actually hold up the Beyond Perfecting foundation, which I have on my desk right here, quite a bit smaller than a regular foundation, and the reason for that is that these are supposed to be pure pigment drops. So in comparison to the Cover FX Custom Cover Drops, if you guys do have those, I went and looked up the size difference. This is 10 milliliters and the Cover FX Custom Enhancer Drops were 15 milliliters. These are $33, which honestly I do think is a pretty steep price for Clinique and for the amount of product that you are getting, but I will talk a little bit on that later in the video. And if you're curious about my shade, I chose the color 110, which is actually the second lightest color in the range. The colors, looking at them at the counter, were a little wonky, just like the rest of Clinique's foundation colors. Some appeared a little peachy, some were very pink, and then some were actually had a nice yellow or golden undertone to them, but I do suspect that it may be a little tricky for you guys to find a color in this, but I am 110 and it does match me pretty well. Okay, so I want to start out by talking about my first experience using the drops, because I have since discovered that there are multiple ways you can use these, and I don't want to just limit you to using these with a moisturizer, which is what Clinique says you are supposed to do with these. And yeah, with pigment drops generally you would mix with a moisturizer, but I'm going to start out with my first demo and experience using these. I used these with a little bit of my Clinique Moisture Surge Gel Moisturizer. I just put a little bit on the back of my hand. It says for sheer coverage you're supposed to use 1 drop, for medium coverage 2 drops, and full coverage 3 drops. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you I needed way more drops than 3. I would say the first application with this product I used 5 drops for just one side of my face, and I really just felt like it was light coverage, and I think you will be able to notice that in the demo. I just kind of felt like it just wasn't a lot of coverage for these to have the claim to be pure pigment drops. There was not a lot of coverage, so I'm just going to go ahead and say these do not have the pigment like the Cover FX Custom Cover Drops. So if you've used those and you know how pigmented those are, this is probably 2 notches down from that as far as pigment goes. And that was kind of a bummer for me because, you know, this is such a small bottle, and the whole reason it's made smaller is because you're not supposed to use as much product, but I had to use quite a few drops just to get light coverage with that moisturizer. So after I applied it, I actually had to go in and do a lot of back work and apply concealer. I applied MAC Studio Fix powder on top of it, and the reason I did this is because that day I actually was having some pictures made, and so I needed the extra coverage. Now I will say that it wore really nicely throughout the day. It looked pretty on my skin. I didn't have a problem with the way it looked. I just had a problem with the coverage, mixing it in with that moisturizer and realizing I had to use so many pigment drops. So I did insert a shot of me wearing it after an 8-hour mark, and it really it really had to test the time because I was out in the rain and the rain was blowing horizontally and just smacking me in the face. And when I got home, my makeup still looked really nice. Now, I don't really know if that has anything to do with me layering products on top of it. I kind of feel like had I just left this with nothing else on top, it could have potentially came off quicker. But all in all, the first day I wore this, I was disappointed in the coverage, but it did look pretty. It did look nice on my skin, and it seemed to hold up. So let's talk about today. Today is the third day wearing the drops for me, and I have found another way that does work out a little better from the first way that I tried the drops. So Clinique only says to really mix these with moisturizers, and they give the option, obviously, of their moisturizers. Well, I have the Moisture Surge, and I also have the Dramatically Different lotion, which I decided to use yesterday to just test out and see if there was a difference. So what I did was I actually put just a small drop of this moisturizer on the back of my hand, and then I mixed in the Becca Backlight Priming Filter Primer. This is an iridescent primer. It has a nice glow to it, and I just thought, hey, maybe mixing in a primer will change the way it looked. And oh my gosh, I can't tell you how big of a difference it made. That is actually the combination I'm wearing today on my skin. I have a little drop of the moisturizer and 1 pump of the Becca Backlight Priming Filter. So after mixing the drops with the actual primer and just a little bit of the lotion, I feel like if you go overboard on the moisturizer, that's where it will dilute the pigment and give you a lighter coverage. So after I mixed with that combination, I was so pleased with the way it looked. Now, I'm going to say I do not feel that these drops are over a medium coverage. So when you read the claim of full coverage on these, I just don't think it's there for me. I just don't think it ever made it there. I would really consider these to just be a medium coverage. And that's not to say that it looks bad, because honestly, all in all, I'm very pleased with the way it looks on my skin, whether it is the lighter coverage formula or more of the medium coverage. But it just looks so much better to me mixed with an actual primer as opposed to just the moisturizer by itself. So I am wearing it today, and I actually don't have any powder. I'm wearing translucent powder just to set the wet areas on my face. Also, I do feel like these set really nicely. They're not matte, but they're not dewy. But I did feel like I needed to set in order to bronze and put blush on and all that fun stuff. So I did use translucent powder just where I needed it, and I just have bronzer and blush and like powder highlight on. So I didn't want to go too overboard. I actually didn't even use a ton of concealer. I used my NARS what is this, the new Complete Coverage Concealer, just in the corners of my eye to brighten my eyes up. And I just think it looks really pretty. It is, I mean, honestly, it looks nice. It really does look nice. I wanted to hate this after I saw how it applied the first time I wore it, but after working with it, I do think that I have a better opinion on it. So I want to get into some things that I noticed wearing this foundation or wearing these pigments. I do feel like they enhance my forehead lines. That's something I'm very self-conscious about, and I'm always looking for a product that can just kind of hide those or not sink into them. I do, after wearing these for the past few days, each time I tried a different method or a different powder or just wearing them by themselves, I still feel like my forehead lines were emphasized a little bit, but I don't feel like it emphasizes my pores at all, just the forehead lines. And as far as the longevity goes with it, I think it wore really nicely. Then again, I have dry skin. I'm going to take it back to people who may have oily combination skin. I just don't know. I just don't think that these would hold up unless you use a really strong, maybe mattifying primer with these drops. I would be willing to bet that these are just going to work a little bit better for those with normal to dry skin. I would say that the drops are semi-buildable. I did go in with a couple more drops after discovering the formula I liked best. just to see how it built up. I wouldn't say that again it gave magnificent coverage after applying a second layer, but I did notice, you know, just a little bit more coverage in the areas I needed. So like I said, again, I just don't think that these really went above a medium coverage for me. Alright, so final conclusion on the drops. Do I like them? Who would I recommend them to? And just overall thoughts. So I would definitely suggest these to normal to dry skin type people. Now, that's not to say that these could not work for oily skin. This is just my opinion after using them. I do feel like they would probably benefit people who do just have that normal skin type. Secondly, these are not very practical. So if you're the type of person that just likes to, you know, like get out the door, throw something on and get out the door, you're gonna have to work with these a little bit. You're gonna have to put the moisturizer on the back of your hand. You're gonna have to figure out how many drops you want to use. You're gonna have to blend that in, and then you're gonna have to apply it. You could use your fingers to apply these, but I don't think they are super practical if you are that type of person. Now, if you like to take your time in the morning and you're fine with taking some extra steps, these would be totally fine. Do I think they are worth the price point? The price point, like I said, is pretty steep for Clinique products. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Clinique Beyond Perfecting, let's see, this was $27, $29. I don't even think it exceeded $30, and this has the standard 1 fluid ounce in it. So I do think the price is steep on these for the amount of coverage that you are going to receive. But I also wanted to mention very quickly that I didn't consider the darker shades. I feel like maybe the darker shades in these pigment or in this pigment formula could potentially be a little bit more pigmented, because I always feel like when I am in my lighter state or my lighter skin tone, foundations always seem to be a little less pigmented. So I feel like maybe the darker colors could offer a little bit more coverage, and obviously when you have darker skin or you're more on the tan side, you always feel like you have a bit more coverage anyways, just with that added color, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But all in all, I think the price is a little steep on these. And for my final conclusion on whether I like them, I do like them. They feel really good on my dry skin. They're not heavy. They last throughout the day. I mean, I haven't noticed them on my skin at least to come off. And I think the finish is really nice. Again, for those of you who have normal dry skin, I haven't found that they accentuate my not my fine lines. Definitely my forehead lines they accentuated, but my pores and my dry patches definitely did not notice them to adhere or enhance those. So I am overall pleased with the formula on these drops. I just want you to know that they are not full coverage like the name says. At least in my opinion, that's what I gathered from using them, and also talking to a couple people who have also tested these out. I feel like people, when they read the claim, they're gonna think like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be super full coverage like the Cover FX Custom Enhancer drops. Really, it's not. The formula isn't even the same. If you look at the consistency on these drops, they're very watery, and if you look at the consistency on the Cover FX drops, they're more thick, and you can just see the pigment in those drops. So overall, it is a pretty formula. I have no complaints on the lasting power. My only complaint is that the coverage. The coverage is medium, and if you're okay with that, I think you would be fine with these. I just realized I probably had a mad reflection on my face throughout this entire video due to these little guys and the sun shining on them, so if that was there, I'm sorry in advance. But I hope I answered any questions you might have had on the Blend It Yourself drops. If you have any questions that I didn't answer, sometimes I just forget stuff in review videos like this, especially regarding foundations. There's like so many things running through my head. But if I didn't answer anything, feel free to ask down below and I will try to get back with you. And I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Let me know if there's any other foundations out there you're wanting to, you know, get my opinion on, or you're wanting me to test out, and I will see what I can do. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.